Getting Chardonnay served in a lounge. That is, not the airport lounge, but the lounge in a plane. Yes, today we're flying with Etihad's A380 in business class from Abu Dhabi to London. Etihad Business Class is one of my favorite business class products. Until now I only flew Etihad 787 in business class, and also on this trip I first went with the 787-9 from Osaka to Abu Dhabi. However, when I saw Etihad's A380 last year at JFK, I just knew I had to fly Etihad Business Class in their A380. One of my favorite business class products combined with my favorite plane. That must be an epic combination. So in this video I will show you all the quirks and features when you fly with Etihad's A380 in business class. Welcome to the Frequent Business Traveler channel. And here we are in Abu Dhabi Terminal A. I just arrived from Osaka from an 11-hour trip with Etihad in business class on a 787-9. In order to show you what makes the A380 cabin unique and how it compares to the 787-9 business class cabin, I will start with a short 2-minute clip of my trip from Osaka to Abu Dhabi. I will show you all the features of the 787-9 business class cabin, and there are quite a lot of similarities as we will see later. So let's go! And here we are in Etihad's 787-9 business class cabin. I reviewed this cabin in detail in my video I posted last year when I flew from Abu Dhabi to Amsterdam, and it's really easy to understand why I believe this is one of the best business class cabins. The seat is 22 inches wide or 56 cm, which is very decent, and when transformed into a bed, it's 75 inch long or 190 cm. The big positive though is that the footwell is large enough for you to move your feet and legs, and that's one of the reasons why the seat is so comfortable. There's an 18.5 inch touchscreen, and you also get a very comfortable Armani blanket. Of course, headphones are provided, and there's a bottle of water available in a little storage area next to the seat. I really like the amenity kit bag. Etihad calls this design a dunes design, taking inspiration from the rolling sands of the Abu Dhabi desert. One big difference compared to my flight last year are the PJs, or Armani loungewear as Etihad calls it. You will get these on flights longer than 9 hours, and these were really very comfortable and soft. Just a great amenity to make your flight even more comfortable. There is this little divider for more privacy, but it doesn't give you 100% privacy as you can see. Probably the only small negative of this cabin layout. Talking about the cabin layout, there's 7 rows of business class on the 787-9 and remaining rows are economy class. You will see later the big difference in cabin classes and number of business class rows with the A380. The entertainment selection is decent on the 787-9 and it has a fantastic live sports option, which were great on my flight last year when I watched a live Formula 1 race. So, these are the highlights of the 787-9 business class cabin. For now, back to Abu Dhabi, where we'll head straight to the lounge. Here we are at the Etihad Business Class Lounge, and I refer to my video I made last year, where I have a detailed review of this lounge. This lounge is really brilliant, and for this trip, it's especially interesting because when you fly with the A380 in business class, you can board directly from the lounge. And that's exactly what we're doing today. It's really cool of course to board directly from the lounge. No rush, no queues, and roughly 30 minutes before departure, after having a little snack, time for me to board the plane. Let's talk about the seat configuration of the A330. On the upper deck you have the residence, you have 5 first class apartments, you have the lounge we will check out later, and then 19 rows of business class. That's quite a difference compared to the 787-9. Here we are, and this cabin layout with the seats look quite familiar. In fact, besides some minor details, I cannot see any major differences compared to the 787-9 cabin. Seat is exactly the same as in the 787-9, the 18.5 screen is exactly the same, and so is a generous footwell. Next to the seat there is storage space with the headphones and water, and one difference is that you're getting some extra storage space next to the window, which is a typical feature of the A380 upper deck. Actually, the 747 upper deck had the same feature. And one of my favorite quirks, the window shutters you can control yourself. I always love this one. Time to check out the amenity kit. In this strip we're getting the cube design bag, and inside are all the things you expect, with Espa lotion, lip balsam and face mist, an eye mask, toothpaste and toothbrush. Contents is exactly the same as the contents of the other amenity kit with the dunes design. We do need to talk about this pillow. Well, pillow? Actually, I was told by the flight attendant on my trip from Osaka that it is actually a mattress topper. You can unfold it and put it on top of your chair. Great, and I'm glad somebody told me, because at least for me it's not obvious. But a really nice feature to make the seat more comfortable. Unfortunately, I couldn't have a good look at the A380 sitting at the gate. The fact that it's dark outside also doesn't help. And when boarding directly to the upper deck, you don't really have the feeling you're inside this huge plane with two decks. So I just had to check out the staircase and head down to the lower deck. 43 rows of economy class in a 3-4-3 configuration. Quite a different experience. Time to look at the menu for this flight. Since I just came back from Japan and heading back to Europe, I want to get accustomed to the European time zone ASAP. So even though this flight leaves in the middle of the night, I want to swap things around. So starting with a breakfast, and just before landing having a lunch. Good thing is, that's not a problem at all. So for now I'm selecting pastries from the breakfast menu, and just before landing I will take the steak sandwich. If there's one negative point with Etihad Business Class, it's the wireless internet. If you want to chat, you will need to log in with your Etihad guest account, which is just a hassle. And for anything more than chatting, you will need to pay, even if you fly business class. Come on Etihad, you don't want to be in a list of airlines which require you to pay for wireless internet in business class. It's also not cheap, with prices up to $25 depending on the duration of the flight. What is cool though is a safety video which is filmed at the Louvre Abu Dhabi. An amazing building and definitely worth a visit when you are in Abu Dhabi. And with all that, it's time for takeoff. It's always amazing to me how smooth and effortless this A380 is taking off, as if it's only using 10% of thrust. Shortly after takeoff, breakfast arrives, and that was exactly what I needed. A very nice selection of pastries with cheese and fruit. And just before I wanted to get some rest, I realized I needed to check out the lounge. Here we are, and this is a pretty cool area. When I visited the lounge, nobody was there, so it wasn't that exciting, but I can imagine if you're traveling with a bunch of friends, it's a really cool place to chill and have some drinks. And talking about drinks, they do have quite an impressive selection. When a flight attendant saw me checking out a place, she asked me if I wanted something to drink. Well, cannot say no to that, so I opted for a glass of Chardonnay. And this is also the perfect moment to ask you if you want to subscribe to the channel. It will mean a lot to me. Thanks! And before I know it, it's almost time for arrival and for my breakfast. I mean lunch to arrive. A steak sandwich which tasted great. I must say, there is clearly a difference between flying out of Abu Dhabi versus other places. Meals for my flight out of Osaka were not that fantastic. And while we're approaching Heathrow, it's time for a conclusion. Flying with Etihad Business Class in A380 is an epic experience and Etihad's best business class. Well, as you can see, the business class cabin and seats are exactly the same as Etihad's 7879 cabin I flew out of Osaka. And I believe this is the best Etihad's business class cabin. Service is as always impeccable and meals are excellent when you fly out of Abu Dhabi, independent of the type of plane. You might get PJs or a different amenity set, but that really depends more on the duration of the flight. Big difference with the A380 is of course that you can board from the lounge in Abu Dhabi and you have the lounge in the plane. The latter is especially fun if you fly with some friends, because obviously nicer to hang out in a lounge and have some drinks than standing next to the toilets. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Also, check out my video of ANA Business Class The Room, an amazing experience which even tops Etihad's business class. Cheers!